Yo, what is going on YouTube? It is your boy GZTV. We have returned once again to the MCU, where we are here to talk about the 2014 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics superhero team of the same name, Guardians of the Galaxy. You can call it Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. The beginning of something actually quite legendary in the MCU, and it's the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. Kind of an anomaly, honestly, in the MCU, but it's something that a lot of people were buzzing about at the time it came out. We will be taking a slight break from it after we watch the sequel, as we have other characters to touch upon, but for now, let the intergalactic fun begin. We have, just getting into the cast, the amazing Chris Pratt, who sadly has become saturated within Hollywood, but I believe this film was my introduction to him, and it was prime Chris Pratt, and we will talk about how that is later on throughout the video. You have other cast members like Zoe Saldana, fucking Vin Diesel is in this movie, legendary wrestler Dave Bautista, obviously being a WWE fan as a kid at the time this came out. I was like 11 or 12 years old when this came out, and it was kind of cool to see him here. Bradley Cooper, the gorgeous Karen Gillan. I mean, the list goes on and on. You even get Michael Rooker, who I loved in The Walking Dead as Merle. That's amazing. They put so much into this film, and you guys are about to find out in this video if Marvel capitalized and what led them to create two other films. Let's go. So just kind of getting into the premise, you know how these videos go. First, we are going to get into what happens. So brash space adventurer Peter Quill, played by Chris Pratt, he's kind of like an outlaw. He finds himself the quarry of relentless bounty hunters after he steals an orb coveted by Ronan, a powerful villain. He is the main villain in this movie. To evade Ronan, Quill is forced into an uneasy truce with four disparate misfits: gun-toting Rocket Raccoon, tree-like humanoid Groot, and you have enigmatic Gamora and vengeance-driven Drax the Destroyer. But when he discovers the orb's true power and the cosmic threat it poses, Quill must rally his ragtag group to save the universe. This is obviously a spoiler review video. We are going to go through all the nitty-gritty of the story, so if you don't like that, if you haven't seen this movie yet in its entirety, I don't know what the hell you're doing. It's been over a decade, which is actually insane to think about. Please go watch this movie. One thing I will say is unique about the Guardians of the Galaxy here compared to other team-up films, you know, like the Avengers, is that they don't really have origin stories or separate movies to go with them. You don't have Star-Lord movies, you don't have a Groot movie, although that would be amazing. That's not really the case here. They all come together in the first film, and I really like that change of pace for Marvel. I like the standalone movies with the other Marvel guys in it, sure, but it was cool for a change to finally just get straight into the action with no lore. There's obviously some mixed elements to that. We will talk about that throughout the review. Let's get it going. Getting into the good, as I always will say, the movie looks absolutely amazing. Anything that Marvel drops is going to look amazing in my books. Anytime Marvel enters untraditional territory in terms of the setting of a movie, anytime we aren't on Earth for the movie, basically, they capitalize every time, and, you know, they put their effects team on notice, and especially in this movie. This is a gorgeous film, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it's one of the most amazing Marvel films I have ever seen. It was great, and to kind of open the franchise with this and all the set pieces, it was awesome. I just wanted to kind of get that out of the way. The stone stuff looked cool with the Infinity Stone. All of the characters looked badass, and speaking of characters, I think for this video, how we're going to structure the good, the bad, the okay is mainly going to be on a character basis. So there you go. We can go through each of them. I'll list what I liked about them, because there really aren't that many characters to dislike here. It's just a well-written movie. Let's start off obviously with the main character, Peter Quill. First off, I just loved his emotional connection through his mom and her giving him the Walkman with all of the classic music on it. That really shaped the vibe of this film with the soundtrack, and I think that's what really sets this film apart from a lot of Marvel movies, is the soundtrack and the vibe and how fun and unserious of a movie it is. I really enjoyed that about it. I think opening the film and closing the film almost with like a moment between him and his mom, whether that be imaginary or not, was honestly great. It was a great way to kind of curate the movie, a great way to kind of chronologically place the movie. Also, him kind of being an outlaw, his humor he added, his amazing costume design, his mask looked fucking awesome, and his heroics towards the end was great. I loved his character teaching everyone how to dance just a little in a very serious situation. Chris Pratt was at his absolute peak here as well. I think he was amazing in this film. Star-Lord is one of the best characters in the whole MCU, I would say. I've liked plenty of other characters. I love Iron Man, I love Captain America. To an extent, I like Thor and the Hulk, but man, Star-Lord is one of them ones. I mean, seriously. Speaking on Gamora, just kind of getting into her character next, I like the dynamic of her fighting her sister and going against the grain in her family and the slight origin story they gave of that. And we will get to Nebula here in a second, but Gamora, another really solid character. Her relationship with Star-Lord also was fun to see develop here, and I like that it didn't go completely romantic in this film. Now, obviously, when they were making this movie, they weren't sure that two other movies were going to come out of it. That's actually actually kind of insane and actually rare that something as new as this would be as successful as it was. It's almost the equivalent of like the Marvels or the Eternals having a franchise. It's honestly pretty hard to do, but they pulled off this film so well that fuck it, we get 2 more movies. I think that's great. 2 other movies were made out of this, so great. Love the green skin with the purplish pink hair and the makeup. Zoe Saldana, pretty beautiful woman. Her character just looked awesome, and there's a lot of fun, humorous moments with her character, like Batista's character calling her a green whore. That's fucking funny.
You, Quill, are my friend.
Thanks.
This dump tree, he is my friend. And this green whore, she too.
Oh, you must stop!
I like how Peter brought out some personality in her as well, just kind of continuing on and talking about those two's dynamic, as she sort of reminds you of like a Michonne from the Walking Dead type of character, and her meeting Star-Lord allowed her to have a little more fun. I really enjoyed watching that on the screen. Obviously, getting into Groot, there's not much to say about him. Of course, he is a fun character with his powers and just his essence, just him being there. He doesn't have to say much, and it's crazy. He took the words I am Groot, and it made for such an effective, sympathetic character. So much was said in 3 words, and it was awesome how like him and Rocket understood each other. That's awesome. Also, Baby Groot in the post credits, spoiler alert again, is always a treat every time I watch this film. It's one of my favorite parts of the film, one of the most wholesome parts of the film, and it's just cute, you know, you gotta say that. Then you get Drax, Drax is kind of like stupid yet smart, kind of a brash character, kind of a contradictory character. He's very interesting, a very unique one for a strong character. You know, with like the Hulk and all of those guys, you don't get guys that are like sophisticated in any sense, and Drax is that. Marvel decided to take a different direction here and make him proper yet still fueled by aggression and anger, still have that masculinity to his character, and I love that about him. I think he was great. Getting into Rocket, of course, the little man syndrome, talking raccoon who likes to steal parts to make gadgets. His character adds some fun to this one. I loved Rocket, and it's really hard to pick a favorite character in this movie. Now obviously Star-Lord naturally is going to be the favorite because he is the main one, but wow, all these characters were nice. They were well laid out, but who would have thought a talking raccoon in this universe would have worked out? Not me, but it did. His relationship again with Groot and their connection was super wholesome. And honestly, in general, this team of heroes, the Guardians themselves, seems kind of like Marvel's version of Suicide Squad, but so much better. This is way better than the Suicide Squad, but still, I think it kind of drew some inspiration from that, and that's fun. I like it there. Ronan looked fucking badass just getting into the villain. He was sick, and he was a pretty decent villain. There's nothing to really write home about in terms of the writing and stuff with his character, but he was awesome. And Thanos made an appearance, you get the Collector, and that helped loop this film with the other sides of the MCU, so that was very much appreciated. Again, it's just the satisfaction of watching all of the films in order and being like, hey, the Collector and Thanos both showed up in post-credit scenes of past Marvel movies, so it's fun to see them kind of pop out here. Rooker channeled his inner Mural as Yondu. His character was really fun too, which was great, and I also love that even John C Reilly was in this movie, and he was his same goofy self that was working with like Will Ferrell years ago, and this film allowed a lot of the actors to really be themselves in this role, and props, no pun intended, goes to the casting team on this one. The casting team was great. These characters were all casted perfectly. There's so much to talk about that I really can't fit it into a reasonably length video, so let's just move on, man. Getting into the bad, just to kind of have something here. I know it didn't seem like I didn't mind the lack of lore and backstory behind some of these characters, but that's kind of a big thing that prevents this from being better than a few movies in the MCU. I just kind of wanted to put it there. I think if the characters had a little bit more of a lore, now obviously Peter does for sure, but the other characters even like explain a little bit more. I think it would have been cool to have like a character introduction combined with like what they did, where they came from, kind of like what the Suicide Squad did. I will say the Suicide Squad did do that pretty well. I think if the Guardians of the Galaxy had that sort of like sequence, I think this movie would be even better, but as of now, they don't have it, so that's fine. Getting into the okay, these are going to be some pretty short segments of the video. It's just there's so many goods that outweigh the okay and the bad. Just kind of getting into Nebula as a character, literally the only character I was even mixed on. There's not even a bad character to this movie, but Nebula is kind of I didn't really care for her in this movie. I get she is Thanos' daughter, she's supposed to be important, and she had a battle with her sister Gamora. She had a purpose for sure, like there was a point of her being in the film, and it's cool like retrospectively or whatever. Their father, they they had like family struggles. But honestly, she should have been more involved in this movie for sure. Even like how much more involved she was in like the Avengers films with Thanos and like the Infinity War and Endgame stuff. I know she was far more involved. Again, she was a bigger part of the story, literally like part of the villain team. But this was kind of a misleading introduction to her character. It kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth. Now, it is satisfying to know like later on that the MCU decided, hey, Nebula's pretty damn important. She's literally Thanos' daughter. Let's do something with this character. And they did it. We will get to that when we review those movies because, man, we got a ways to go. But it was weird. And similar to Dune, I just wanted to kind of talk about something in generality. Also, you guys have seen my Dune movie review. I'm very negative about it. The movie is just in a completely different language. Like, the locations are in a different language. The language itself is damn near in a different language. It's weird. But somehow here, the reason why I want to put this in the mix is because they make it still entertaining. And I think that's a huge feat for a film like this. You know, you're introducing kind of like this mythological, like galactic world, and you still make it somewhat easy to understand and somewhat enjoyable. I think that's awesome. Again, I know these last sections seem short, but this movie is overwhelmingly good to me. It's just a few somewhat major things affected the movie for me, and honestly, I could have gave this movie a higher score, but speaking of that, let's get going with the review. So getting into the review, time to pull up the tier list. I mean, my god, what a successful introduction to the MCU this movie was. One of the best in the entire MCU, one of the best like introductory films of any MCU movie. You could put this over some of the original movies like The Incredible Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, The First Avenger. Now, realistically, I probably wouldn't, but you could argue that. I think it's just that damn good. I think I want to just go ahead early on in these review segments and put my score out there. It is an 8.6 out of 10. I love all of the other Avengers films and the side movies, if you want to call it that, but wow, you damn near couldn't have introduced these characters in any other fashion than they did. Damn near flawless. It worked really well. I will say the lore and all that in between stuff wasn't quite there, but that is fine. That is very forgivable. I think this film knows its purpose as just a good time, kind of a theatrical experience, and I do think that in the theater it beats out watching it at home, but again, that's fine. I honestly couldn't believe that I hadn't reviewed this on the channel before because this was a huge part of my childhood growing up watching this movie. I mean, funny enough, I actually live streamed the game, which was a great game, by the way. It came out like 4 or 5 years ago. To not get to this iconic film already, I don't know what the hell I was doing. It was great. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this stuff. I don't really have much to say. I stand by an 8.6 out of 10. I do think I could rate it higher. It's not as great as I originally remember it. Like, I originally remember it being like a 9.2, 9.3 out of 10, but an 8.6 is still an exceptional movie. So with that being said, it has been your boy GZTV. Holy shit, I just recorded a fuck ton of content. It's content overload. I have 3 YouTube shorts to go through. I have 3 videos to edit. NFL's coming up. Man, we are busy on the channel, and I'm very happy to have content for you guys. Dexter Resurrections is still coming down the pipeline, all of these things. So with that being said, peace out, everybody.